Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of the Balance Podcast. And I don't know how you're listening, but just so you know, it's available on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and SoundCloud. So tons of avenues. Also, if you visit SoundCloud, you can download some of the episodes. So, you know, me hooking you up. As always, I want to start the show off by thanking everyone who tunes in to every episode. To those who, if someone tweets on Twitter like, yo, what are some podcasts to listen to, and y'all mention mine, thank you. I appreciate it. I see you. I love you. And I mean that. To those of you who just retweet when I post a new episode, you retweet the links, or just all the different ways that y'all share my work, I thank you. It means the world to me because, again, I do this. It's not just a hobby to me. It was formed as a mission. It was a way for me to, as I've said plenty of times, my voice has been silenced, but it was a way for me to finally express my voice, to express myself and my thoughts and my ideas, and be the woman that I truly am, the opinionated woman that I am, and also to hold true to my beliefs and advocate for others and to get the truth out there to as wide of an audience as possible, you know? And so, yeah, we'll go ahead and start the show again. Thank y'all. So today, I wanted to record this episode, special day, Juneteenth. For those of you who do not know what Juneteenth is, I'm not going to chastise or anything like that, because you live, you learn, you grow, you mature. You know, like, nobody is born perfectly woke, knowing every single thing that's happened, every single day, every single memory. So Juneteenth celebrates the day that all slaves were truly freed, because yes, you had the Emancipation Proclamation, but the actual freeing and the actual, let's say free-ish, because, you know, we're not really free, the actual like message of it didn't hit every place at the same time. So today's the day in 1865 where it hit Texas. So the last round of slaves learned that they were free. It's a beautiful day. It's our day. It's the day to celebrate. I went out to eat. Not necessarily for that, but it was part of it. So it was great for me. And so I just wanted to drop an episode on this day and to talk about some important topics. We're going to get into Sudan a little bit later on. We're going to talk about the transgender murders that are happening and deaths going on and other important issues as well. But first, we're going to discuss some celeb news. So Jessica Biel, she's like a Z-list, you know, negative Z-list actress. Justin Timberlake's wife. She tried to backtrack a little bit, but in the end, she's basically coming out as anti-vaccinations. And I've ranted about this on so many episodes and so many things. And I mean, the only thing that I can stress is that it's important to really pay attention to your sources. Like, who is giving you this so-called information that you research? What website are you reading this on? Who's paying for this research? Who's behind the website? All these different things. You need to read from unbiased, as much as possible, sources. You need to look at scholarly work. You need to listen to actual, real doctors, the bulk, who are saying, hello, there are no risks of autism. But it's like crazy to me that people rather have a dead child than an autistic child, which it's so ableist, and it's disgusting, really. Like, even if there was a link, you rather risk the death of your child, because hello, you're gonna bring back all these diseases that are devastating. Like, I think Maine is like the 25th state or something like that to have an outbreak of like measles and all this stuff that people are bringing back that shouldn't be a problem because of misinformation, of ignorance, and ableism. And that's another thing I want to talk about, because a lot of times, like, I saw someone on Twitter, they were trying to sell these fake ass disabled signs and tags. And first of all, it's not even enough spots for those who are truly disabled in the parking lot as is. And y'all are trying to, like, cop these just because you're too lazy to walk or what have you. Like, that is trash. Like, and that's something on me that I need to be more vigilant and more open in speaking about ableism and the way that disabled people are treated in this country. And also, just a real quick aside before I get back to the topic at hand, is that disabled, it doesn't have to be a physical disability. It can be a mental disability, like, hello, mental health issues like major depression. It can be bipolar disorder. It can be autism or a learning disability, dyslexia. So it's just important to just keep in mind, that there are physical and, invisible disabilities, and to check your ableism at the door, because that's another thing. And that was something I think I brought up on Twitter, and I'm sorry I'm getting off a little bit topic, but I think it's important to bring up because so many of us are able-bodied, or for the most part able-bodied, and just like white people treat racism, we treat disabled people however we want. I've finally seen the movie Us, and I know Lupita was criticized for her use of that voice, and I get what they were trying to do with it. I get the storyline, and she was criticized a lot, and people will, I understand wanting to stand up for Lupita and all these things like that, Jordan Peele, but disabled people spoke out against it, and they said that, you were making it harder for them, you're stereotyping them in a negative way. And I mean, I get it, because who are really the villains? It's a little murky in the movie, but in general, on the surface level, the people that everybody's trying to defeat, you're giving them the disabled voices and stuff, and you're making them seem so evil. We of course kind of learn that they're not, but not gonna get into the whole storyline or whatever. But at the end of the day, like I say all the time, we don't want white people telling us how to feel about race and what we should be upset about. We don't want men telling us what we should do with our bodies, what we should be upset about. You don't, like, if I was Muslim, I wouldn't want someone who's Christian telling me how I feel or about my issues or what I should be offended by. If I was like part of the LGBTQ community, I couldn't tell, like, somebody shouldn't tell me how I feel, or things like that. I can't tell them how to feel. That sort of thing still applies. You can't tell a disabled person what they should and should not be offended by. And honestly, maybe you could have found, if you really wanted to go with that, like, again, give representation. We talk about representation so much, where we're talking about black people in Hollywood, or black women in Hollywood specifically, or whatever. But we need to talk about, that was another thing with Crazy Rich Asians. They got their their visibility, their representation, and disabled people, they deserve that too. You have Drake playing Wheelchair Jimmy, and he was never disabled in his life. I am 100% sure that there's probably some, I don't even know how many, but I'm pretty sure there's some people out there who are disabled, whether it's invisible or visible, and they can play these parts just as well. Why? Because it's authentic, because it's real. And they deserve their representation too. And and they deserve their chance in Hollywood too. And they deserve to tell their own stories, just like we need to deserve to tell our stories. So again, just take that spectrum. But going back to Jessica Biel, I think it's so ignorant of her, and for her to use her platform in such a harmful way. Get your kids vaccinated, because you're not gonna be around my kids, you're not gonna be around me. And I'm all for making laws of keeping them out of school. Like, your ignorance, that's on you. If people want to be ignorant, that's on them. That's willful. But you're not about to place me, my child, other children at risk because of your ignorance. You can go be foolish by yourself and bring back the plague. Y'all can be over there all mumped up and looking ugly and diseased and dying all on your own. That ain't got nothing to do with me. But I'm talking about everybody else. And I'm always a firm believer of doing what you do. Love is love. All these different things. Doing what you do, as long as it don't harm other people. That harms other people, so it's not okay. And she's not okay for using her platform, something like that. Like, Justin should have, like, say, hey babe, like, I don't think it's gonna go well, like, something, So anyway, moving on. So another topic I saw today, Whoopi and Bella Thorne. And so basically Bella Thorne, I guess she leaked her own nudes, but the main thing that got to me was Whoopi saying that she shouldn't have taken these nudes. First of all, that's rooted in patriarchy, and I'm not even gonna get started on Whoopi. She's a very sketchy character to me. But at the end of the day, women deserve to celebrate their bodies. They don't have to take these nudes from male gaze, and if they do, that's perfectly fine. That's amazing. Do what you do. But we deserve to celebrate our bodies and again, show our bodies if that's what we choose, and we shouldn't have to feel guilty for it. We shouldn't have to do it because we're scared of what might happen. No. How about, instead of, again, it's always a punishment on the women. It's always harsher on the women than the men in every single way. And it's like, maybe we should start teaching people and really being strict about, hey, do not share these nudes. Hey, if you leak these nudes, like, you're going away for a long time. Because that's the issue of consent. When they're not done, that's not consent. And consent, is huge in terms of rape and sexual assault. So we need to bring this all together, and there needs to be stiff punishment. We need to correct those behaviors, not us having to take the precautions. It's just like with racism. We shouldn't have to do that in the third, like be all dressed up, speak, with a white tone of voice, or white afflictions in our voice, or inflections, different things like that. We shouldn't have to do all this and third. We're soon to all pull up our pants, Bill Cosby last. All these different things we should not have to do just to be taken seriously and to try to have our lives valued. We shouldn't have to say yes sir, no master to the daggone police officers just to be valued for our lives. Like, I'm just so sick of respectability politics, and that's what she was basically preaching. Hello, I have taken pictures before. For me, for others. I'm open about it. I'm a woman. I'm a grown woman. I'm 25 going on 26. You know? And there's nothing wrong with that. It's okay for me. It's okay for everyone. And if you don't want to, which I often don't take those, and if you don't do it at all, that's on you. That's what feminism is about, is a choice to do with your body what you want, to act in your agency, to do what you want to do. So if I'm going to pull a Breakfast Club, Donkey of the Day goes to Whoopi. So another thing was Rachel, I don't know, Doolittle, Rachel, Dolezal, Rachel, I don't know, whatever she wants to be. She came out as bisexual, and I'm just like, I'm not here to judge someone's sexuality or choices, but I'm like, girl, like, okay, so co-opting, blackness and that struggle didn't work, so now you want to co-opt the LGBT community and that whole life during Pride Month. Like, bye. Girl, bye. Go on somewhere. Go worry about your edges that are gone because you're doing a hairstyle that does not work for you. That's what you need to worry about. You need to come out as edgeless. Okay, do that. So anyway, another topic I saw brought up, because, and it's usually an old tired debate, and I typically don't get into those, but I wanted to this time. So, sex on the first date. Old and tired, right? But I saw someone say, like, oh, you need to stop talking about sex is sacred, whatever. I am all for sex on the first date. Do what you want to do. Live your best life. Again, feminism, choice. Do what you want with your body. Do what you want. Like, be safe. That's all I give a crap about. But do not say sex is not sacred, because just because you have that belief, you cannot impart that on others, because there are some who do believe sex is sacred. And it can be sacred. I don't think in every form or every moment it is, but it can be. So don't cast it out as not one. And again, it's true. You can have sex on the first day, be with them forever, sex on the first day, and then they're done with you. But then you can also have them wait 6 months, and then y'all cut ties like soon after. Like, there's no right or wrong. And I think that's so much the problem with society and life today, that we're so focused on what we think should be the timeline for things, what we think, how we think things should go and proceed. Like, there's no guidebook there. Like, life is life. Paths are crisscross, turn all kinds of ways, and eventually you get to where you're supposed to be. But there's so many different ways, and so many, like, there's just no right or wrong, basically, what I'm trying to get at. Do what works for you, and don't worry about what other people think. As long as you are being safe, as long as your partner is safe, as long as y'all both tested and y'all both good, and if there is an issue that you're taking all the precautions with condoms or PrEP or whatever needs to be done, that is what matters, okay? So yeah, moving on from that. Another thing I wanted to talk about was Kim Kardashian. Now, y'all know I hate the Kardashians with a passion. But I know that she's been working to help felons re-enter the workforce. Like, she's been doing work getting people released, and now she's trying to help them get jobs with Uber or different things like that. And people are coming for her. Yes, she is privileged. And you know what? It sucks ass that there are people who are black and brown and have been working on the front lines to make these changes, and they can't get their foot in the door, not even a pinky toe in the door. But I'd rather her use her privilege in this good way. This is what we're talking about. We scream about privilege and stuff like that. Okay, when people have privilege in a platform, use it for good. Like, it sucks that they have it, but they have it. So guess what? They need to use it in positive ways. Like I was saying, Jessica Biel, she's to promote anti-vax. Like, that's not what you do when you have a platform and you have privilege, like she does as a white woman, and that she does as a celebrity, even though if it's Z-list and negative Z-list. But back to the topic. So, I'm not going to slander Kim for this one. I'd rather she do this. Like, this is actual meaningful work that actually helps our people. And you know what? I hope and pray that one day the people who have been fighting for decades and years and working tirelessly to the bone, and who've gotten their degrees, and who, I hope that they get their chance to be at the front lines and doing the work that they want to do and getting their recognition. But at the end of the day, that's a matter of hubris at the end of the day. Like, yes, we need to get what we owe. We need to get our attention, our shot, but it's also hubris. I'd rather it be done. I'd rather people be helped. I'd rather people truly get a chance to re-enter the workforce and re-enter society and life, no matter who is at the hands of. sometimes you have to push it aside for the greater good, and that is truly greater good. So you will not hear me slander Kim for that. There's plenty of other things to slander her for. Believe me, you can pull up a whole list. This ain't one of them. So that's one thing I want to say about her. Then there's another thing I wanted to discuss was Lala. And so allegedly, we don't even know if this is, the truth or whatever, but allegedly, so Lala, her, Carmelo Anthony, the Knicks, I think he got traded from the Knicks. I don't know. I can't keep up with all this stuff. But anyways, so, they broke up for a while. Allegedly, he stepped out on her and he had a child with someone. And so he doesn't really see the child. He's not in the child's life. And she won't accept the child and all this, that, and the third. Okay. My thing is, you accepted that man back knowing what he did. This is an innocent child in the mix. And I'm going to bring up Gabrielle Union. This whole break, baby, I don't believe it was a break. But that's a story you want to spin. That's a narrative you want to spin, fine. But I'm pretty sure he just cheated on you. And you decided to take him back. And that's on you. That's your agency. That's your choice. But both of y'all, like Gabrielle Union in her book, she barely, if at all, mentioned. I read the book. She barely mentioned the boy. She never posts a picture with him, but she posts pictures with all of, Dwayne's other kids and, their daughter Kavia together. But she never talks about that child. She acts like he doesn't exist and she doesn't post him. And that's not right. If you accept that man back, you need to accept that baby in your life. It might be hard. It might be a reflection of what happened. But when you accept him, you have to forgive him for that anyway. You can't pick and choose what you accept. And it's an innocent baby. They didn't ask to be here. They didn't ask to be created. It happened. They're here. There's no reason you should, and then why would you want to be with somebody who's not taking care of their child, not being part of their child's life? That's bad on him and bad on you for wanting somebody like that. That means you're trash, But Dwayne Wade, he's involved in his child's life. He just goes and visits the child and things like that. But he should be more active, I would think, around Gabrielle. Like the mother I read, she's like, no comment on Gabrielle and their relationship. But that's my thing. You just can't pick and choose. You cannot, like, women are so quick to forgive the man and they're so hard on women and all these other things. And again, the baby's suffering here for what? Like, if you, like, again, you have to, if you're taking the man back, you have to accept the baby too. They're a package deal. That's his flesh and blood. And if you can forgive the Tristan, you can forgive what came out of it. An innocent, beautiful baby that's just out here trying to live in this world. Who knows it's going to survive much longer with climate change and with people in charge right now. So it's just like, it looks bad on Lala. It looks bad on Carmelo. And then just sliding in, it looks bad on Gabrielle Union. Point blank, period. Okay? And so, another thing I wanted to discuss, and this will just kind of wrap up hot topics and celeb news, is Meg Thee Stallion. So I saw that she did like this kind of problematic thing where she's like, she sleeps with, she doesn't want to get new bodies, so she sleeps with her older partners, and even if they have a girlfriend or whatever. I will say that I get, and I think, no matter how sex positive we try to be, or or how progressive we try to be, we were ingrained and taught certain things, and it takes a lot of rewiring, and it takes a lot of acknowledging that you still have these, hidden, patriarchal or whatever ideas it is, sexist ideas, whatever, because even me, like, everyone knows I'm liberal and I'm just like, for everybody and everything, just be happy as long as you're not hurting anybody. But I still, like, I secretly operate in the same way. I don't want anyone new. I'd rather just deal with the people I've already been with. Comfortable, they know my body, I know them. It's just easier that way. And so I can get where she's coming from. The part that's messed up to me is when she said, even if they have a girlfriend, now that's messed up. You're crossing boundaries. And no, like, and it's tricky because they're the ones that's supposed to be faithful. They're the ones that made that commitment. But at the same time, you should honor it, especially if you know about the commitment that he has someone else or she has someone else, however it goes, But yeah, I don't want to make this a super long episode, so we're going to wrap up hot topics and celeb news, and then we'll be back with a few things about Sudan and transgender deaths. And we're back. So people were like, whining about the use of the blue profile pictures on Instagram and Twitter and maybe on Facebook. No, that in and of itself isn't going to do anything. That's not the point. It's to raise awareness. If people see everybody putting on blue avatars and avies, they're going to Google, what is that for? That's how you learn. That's how you educate. I feel like people are so quick to criticize without fully looking at the layers behind things. And when people know, and the more things get out there, there's hope. But basically, so a Sudanese influencer, she posted on Instagram about what was going on. Essentially, there's been protests and violence erupted through the protests, and as far as I know, from the last few days ago, there was like 124 deaths, 700 injuries, and over 70 cases of rape. And I don't know if those numbers have increased, but that's just enough right there to matter. They were blocking internet access for civilians, and there was just like a whole media blackout. Soldiers are raiding hospitals, and they're attacking wounded protesters, and there's just disposing of bodies in the Nile. It's just a lot going on. So it's just important to make sure that you keep yourself abreast of world issues and happenings. Just because it's not happening here at the moment, it doesn't mean it doesn't matter, So please take this as a moment to look more into what's going on in Sudan and just make yourself knowledgeable and look up ways to help, because I know there were some ways online. So please just look up ways to help. Use your agency, do the work. When you want to criticize the blue things on Twitter, okay, so what are you doing? Find ways to help, educate other people, just do what you can. But anyway, so there's that. And then I just kind of briefly wanted to talk about the transgender deaths, because I feel like it's important and it doesn't get enough attention. So let's start off and talk about how the life expectancy of a transgender person is about 35 years old. Now, we know first and foremost that, Asians have high life expectancy and white people have higher life expectancy than black people. But just think about 35 years old. And I don't use the term third world countries because that's disrespectful. Nobody's a third world country. I prefer developed and developing. So in the developing countries, maybe their life expectancy, I know like in some areas it's 50 something. But here, transgender people have a life expectancy of 35. And there's so many factors between them being murdered, between, them being discriminated in the workplace and everywhere else. And especially like, in homeless shelters and things like that, leaving them susceptible to death, in various ways, and mental health effects, and like from suicide or from lack of resources and health issues, all these different things. But the focus here is murder and their deaths, and I want to mention names, and I want to give them attention in their moment that they deserve. But again, imagine a life expectancy of 35. It's crazy, right? And then imagine a person of color that's transgender and their life expectancy. And I'm a huge proponent. I always say that words matter, because words do matter, because words become ideas, and ideas become thoughts, and then it turns into action, because people don't just act. There's something that provokes it. What provokes it? Usually some idea in your head, some belief. You act on your beliefs, like me doing this podcast. Just different things. Words mean things. They snowball into things, and them themselves mean things regardless of the snowballing into action. And I think that's important to distinguish, because physical wounds, they can heal, and they can heal faster, but emotional wounds, they can take months, years, decades, if they ever heal. So I'm sorry, that whole adage that sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. I'm so sorry that you were taught that, because I was wrong. Words, in fact, can hurt. And I think telling people that they can't and that they don't have much of an effect is a disservice to children, to adults, to everyone. And I think that's a huge problem with the world, because words matter. Words of Donald Trump inflame his audience and get them to, wild out and perform his whims. Words matter. So just think about that. Transgender people, again, they are honoring their identities, what makes them feel comfortable, which makes them love themselves, what's authentic to them, and it has no bearing on you. They are not going to harm you. Against the false narrative, they are not going to come in bathrooms and assault people, or children, or anyone. They're not predators. That's not it whatsoever. And that's ignorant. And I'm going to rebuke all forms of ignorance for as long as I'm drawing breath on this earth. They're not, a disservice to masculinity or destroying, the black community or any community. These are people who are just living their lives and making them happy. And they're not hurting anyone. So we're going to start with some of the deaths in 2019. In 2018, there were 26 deaths of transgender people due to fatal violence. And the majority of them were black transgender women. So I'm just going to go through some that are occurring in 2019. And at least 10 of them were fatally shot or killed by other violent means. Dana Martin, 31. A black transgender woman was fatally shot in Montgomery, Alabama on January 6. She was found roadside in a ditch in her vehicle and pronounced dead at the scene. Jazeline Ware, a black transgender woman who was found dead in her Memphis apartment in March, is currently being investigated as a homicide according to the Advocate. Ashanti Carmen, 27, a black transgender woman, was fatally shot in Prince George's County, Maryland on March 30th. Not many details are known about the crime, and the investigation is ongoing. Her fiance, Philip Williams, says, "Until I leave this earth, I'm going to continue on loving her in my heart, body, and soul. She did not deserve to leave the earth so early, especially in the way that she went." Claire Legato, 21, a black transgender woman, was fatally shot in Cleveland on April 15th. Local media reports that Legato was shot in the head after an argument broke out between her mother and the suspect. She was taken to a nearby hospital where she died of her injuries the next month, May 14th. Malaysia Booker, 23, a black transgender woman, was fatally shot in Dallas on May 18th. She was found dead, lying face down with a gunshot wound near a golf course in East Dallas. In April, the month before, she was viciously attacked in what Dallas Mayor Mike Rawlings described as mob violence. Michelle Washington, 40, a black transgender woman, was fatally shot in Philadelphia on May 19th. Police responded to reports of shots fired in North Philadelphia's Franklinville neighborhood. She was found with several gunshot wounds and transported to Temple University Hospital and was pronounced dead. Paris Cameron, 20, a black transgender woman, was among 3 people killed in a horrific LGBTQ shooting in a home in Detroit on May 25th. Also, Alante Davis and Timothy Blanchard, 2 gay men, were also found dead at the scene. Paris Cameron, the main person we're discussing here, was taken to the hospital where she died from her injuries. Chanel Lindsay, 26, a black transgender woman, was found dead in White Rock Lake, Dallas, with signs of homicidal violence on June 1st, according to police. As of June 4th, no further details were available. Chanel Skurlock, 23, a black transgender woman, was found fatally shot in Lumberton, North Carolina on June 6th. Few details are available right now, but the police claim that they have great leads. Lastly, Zoe Spears, 23, a black transgender woman, was found lying in the street with signs of trauma near Eastern Avenue in Fairmount Heights, Maryland, and was later pronounced dead on June 13th, according to local reports. We honor you, and we're fighting for you, and I'm here to ensure that you get the human rights and the justice that you deserve, and that your names are heard. Say her name. Say their names. Words matter. Their lives matter. Thank you for listening to another episode of The Balance. Please help spread the word. Goodbye.